Midnight Movie Review. Alright, so it's spoiler time, and we're going to get into why Ender's Game isn't a great adaptation of the book, why Ender's Game probably shouldn't have been adapted as a movie, and what you should expect from movie adaptations. First off, Ender's Game is a really multi-layered book. There are so many good portions to it, and you can really take anything you want out of it. That's why it's so popular. You can take from it all the action that happens. You can take from it the teen angst, the anger, and the frustration, and the loneliness. The Marine Corps takes it as a guide on small unit tactics, so that's even cooler. There is so much you can take from this book, which is why it's a classic, and it's only, I think, 30 years old now? Almost 30 years old? Where did Ender's Game fail? And I think one of the things you have to look at is what makes adaptations good. And as I said in the non-spoilered version, there's things that the movie did that you probably shouldn't do in an adaptation. Now, all that said, there is some things that it did right. It completely took out the Peter and Valentine internet political ideology take over the world thing, which is good. But at the same time, it undercuts Peter's menace. Why is Ender so afraid of Peter? Well, it's because he's a monster, but he's a calculating, cold monster. And the points where he is making a political argument and trying to gain power through those words really undercuts how dangerous Peter is and why Ender is so afraid of him. Yes, he was violent, but he was so much more than that. He was a much deeper monster. But that would have been really, really hard to do in the movie, so it was a good cut. One of the other things I was worried about with the adaptation was the inner dialogue of Ender. There's lots of stuff that he's thinking and going through, and the movie does a really bad job of conveying how hard the journey was for him. The book covers about 4 or 5 years of Ender's life. The movie feels like it covers a month at most. It's very fast how the story progresses in the movie versus in the book. And that's the problem with Ender's Game. You really got to look at the Lord of the Rings trilogies. Lord of the Rings is an excellent example of what you should do with an adaptation. The theatrical cuts especially are really good examples of how you take books and turn them into compelling movies. You don't just do a play-by-play of the books. There are things you want to get to, but you make it your own. You make it into a movie. And Ender's Game really doesn't feel like that. World War Z was sort of like that too, where it didn't really capture the spirit of the book. Granted, World War Z was a much different animal, but it feels like it's kind of in the same boat. And that was one of the other things that really bothered me about the movie, the deaths of Bonzo and Stilson, which were really catalysts for this creation of this weapon that the international fleet needs. It proved that Ender was the right boy for the job. There's a moment in the movie where Graff and Anderson exchange looks when they mention that Stilson is in the hospital, and I thought they were going to address that he's dead, but they never actually said that, and they specifically said that Bonzo's in a coma. And that kind of irked me because, again, it was sort of a, hey, let's not make Ender a murderer, let's just make him a hero. And that really didn't sit well with me. Anyway, that's all for now. That's kind of my spoilery overview. I did think the movie did a really good job of keeping the twist at the end that Ender did destroy the buggers. But again, it's kind of rushed into, so you really don't have time to take in and maybe even guess what the ending is. You do guess the ending of the bugger queen being preserved by Ender. But again, the book does a better job of that too. In the end, go read the book. It's a classic. The movie's forgettable. Bye.